Oh, nice. Hey, everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you were on the lifeboat. People, I have been waiting for this day, and I've gotten so many emails from people that have as well. You know what we do. This is a chance to get to know the crew. This is an opportunity for us to do a little bit of an interview process, and the reason has been twofold. We want you to know the people that you're on the boat with, because there's so much interaction and there's so much support that we want to make sure that you understand who you're with. It makes reaching out, it makes supporting people not only easier and more comfortable, but it also makes a stronger bond. But the second thing that we're doing, and today is really a prime example of that, is letting people realize that we really are in the same boat. Today's interview is going to be a little bit different because this time there is a gentleman on here who is really sort of taking the first plunge. I've already had people reach out to me after I announced what we were going to be doing to say that they're absolutely in the same boat. People, when you stop using drugs, there's a period of guilt. When you stop selling drugs, that period of guilt goes on for a longer period of time. And my guest today is Chris Charlevoix. I've known Chris now for probably longer than I've known 99% of the people on the boat. He was became a friend right after I left prison, and we were just talking before we came on the air. He was one of the people that was there when I announced to the world that I was a convicted felon and that I had been to prison for bank robbery, and he's just been a real supporter of me through that. So when he reached out and said that he wanted to talk to me about what we're going to be doing today. And he said, he was wondering how I was going to react to it, and I think that's human nature because of the world that we live in, especially once you get sober. He thought maybe there was a chance that, I would look down my nose. People with the past that we all have, none of us have the ability to look down our nose at anyone. You know this gentleman not as Chris, but you know him as the kiss freak, right? He's a very large kiss fan. And you've seen his avatar. He's a great supporter of everybody on this boat. And today we're blessed that he's taken the opportunity to come on here and tell you his story. Chris, man, I'm so happy you're here.
Glad to be here. Nervous, but glad.
Little nervous? That's okay, man. That's okay. Honestly, that's probably normal. And the fact that you admit that's even better, but it says a lot about who you are as well. You know what? It's just two guys talking. And what I want you to do is tell us a little bit about, nobody just starts out and says, hey, I'm going to go sell drugs. Usually there's something that leads into it. There's use of drugs or whatever the case may be. So just start off and tell us your story. First of all, where are you talking to us from? Let's start there.
Northern Ontario, Canada.
Yes. So north of the border. Excellent. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how this all got started?
Well, it all started when I moved back to my hometown. I was in a rut, on welfare, not going anywhere. And just opportunity fell in my lap where I could make money quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So were you using drugs at the time?
Nope.
No.
I had played around with weed in the past, but that was a non-issue.
Right.
Yeah. So,
well, and we hear that from almost everybody, that anyone that comes on all says that, in the beginning, there was a little bit of pot smoke. And so you find that you can get drugs cheap. What was it you were getting?
You mean what I was getting to sell?
Yeah. What was the opportunity? What were you selling?
Old high school friend came up to me and they were looking for someone to help out with them with their little business they had going. And I saw dollar signs and I jumped on board.
And was it cocaine?
It was cocaine right off the bat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and you started selling to people you knew, or what was tell us the story?
No, we actually sold out of a strip joint.
Okay.
we'd sit in the bar and wait for people to come in, go straight for the washroom and give us a little look on the way by, and we went and did our thing.
Okay. And this was in the hometown that you were in?
Yeah.
So how long were you working out of this strip club?
For roughly 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Well, if you got to spend time in a place to to sell drugs, I suppose there could be places that were less fun to hang out with. Hang out in. So when you and I first talked about this, obviously one of the reasons that you're here is you realized that what you were doing was affecting the lives of some people.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how, from when it started to when it progressed to to eventually what stopped it.
Like I said, it was all out of a bar at first. Then it was helping my bosses
Right.
run errands across town and stuff like that. And then it became going on runs out of town with them to get more supply. And it wasn't anything like the movies. Wasn't crazy. Just a bunch of guys going out on a road trip.
Yeah, nobody was running around with guns and doing any of that.
I actually never seen a gun.
You know what?
Not in that context.
Right. I think that's probably a good point too, because there are, we've got people on the boat. The largest percentage of people on this boat, have had addiction. But there are a lot of people on this boat that come here for no other reason than to support people. And I think that there's a lot of people in the world that have a sort of a different vision in their head of what drug dealers are, because we all saw Scarface and we've seen New Jack City and all of those. But it's really like you were saying, it's more just friends hanging out. But you were going and picking up cocaine. But so you were driving basically all over Canada?
Yeah, southern Ontario. We were going down to Toronto and that area mostly. Ottawa a few times.
Those runs were to go pick up the drugs?
Yeah.
And then you guys would come back and have them all weighed out in bags, or?
Oh yeah, we'd spend a couple of days, get everything ready.
Yeah. So did you watch the effect that these drugs were having on the people you were selling to?
Yeah, I've seen some of them. Yeah, the families splitting up, guys getting sicker and sicker and losing weight.
Yeah, and in the beginning, everybody's got the money, and then it's been my experience from being one of the users. When I first started to buy from any dealer, I was always flush with cash, but usually by the end of that relationship, I'm bringing them stolen stuff and I'm begging him for you dealt with a lot of that as well?
Oh yeah, and some weird stuff sometimes.
Oh yeah,
whatever they could get their hands on.
Yeah. So a lot of times too, these people are literally taking, I've seen family heirlooms. I've seen, the things that people do, in order to continue, especially, the drug that you were selling. When people use the term hard drugs, everybody sort of classifies that differently in their heads. But, if the government of our country were to classify hard drugs, cocaine is definitely one of them. And,
yes.
Like you said, you definitely can watch the weight loss. But it after a while, it has to start weighing on your conscience. I mean, in the beginning, it's exciting, right? People are bringing in a watch or they're bringing in this. But when you start to realize and you're seeing these people literally just go down the tubes, did it affect you that way while you were doing it or only after?
Not really while I was doing it. It was,
you get caught up.
Yeah. After I was out of the life, it hit me.
Yeah. So you were in there and you're doing this and you're watching the effect that it's having on people. I remember when you first reached out to me, I said, I'm concerned about the statutes of limitations. The last thing in the world I want to do is have somebody come on here and get themselves, into any trouble telling their story. But your answer to that sort of told me how this came to an end, I guess. So you want to give us an idea of exactly what happened?
Yeah. we had one of the guys start selling to a new guy in town. Come up, work truck, dirty clothes, work boots, everything. He looked like a contractor. Doing work. Like there's lots of it's a big lumber industry town. So
Right.
he looked like he was working in the bush.
Turns out he wasn't.
And then he introduced us to him. And like, okay, this guy is cool. You can sell to him, no big deal. And found out that he wasn't that cool.
Right. So was
He
he
was
coming
an
into
undercover cop.
Yeah, was he coming into the strip club, or were you meeting him out in the?
He was coming to the club, yes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like a gram here or there. It was, I don't know if that the same term.
Yeah.
You use the same term. He'd come for
Yes.
an 8-ball.
Yep.
And then he upped it a quarter, half an ounce, and
Yeah. To anybody that's
Now-
watching that hasn't been in that life, the 8-ball is a measurement that refers to 1/8 of an ounce. So it's about 3.5 grams.
3.5 grams, yes.
Yeah. So normally what you were selling was, would you move a lot of grams? Was that the smallest you were selling?
Half grams.
Half grams?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the smallest.
So this guy came in and started buying weight and getting bigger and bigger. So he was setting you guys up for the big bus.
Yep. And I heard afterwards that by law you have to sell to an undercover 3 times before they can bust you.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's
A
exactly how it
little
happened.
different in the United States.
Yeah.
In
Once
the
you're
United
done.
States, that first one and it's all over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So obviously you sold to this guy 3 times. Tell us about the day that the music died. Tell us about the day that.
It was about 7 or 8 in the morning. I had just gone to bed.
Oh,
My
yeah.
girlfriend at the time was sitting still up on the computer, and the door frame went flying.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, they didn't knock. they,
Yeah.
they used the ram and rammed the door open, and right away they had her down, face down on the floor. They got me on the bed with the gun to my head.
Wow.
Yeah, and they sat us on chairs with the cuffs on and searched my whole apartment, and I never had anything at home.
Oh, no. Okay. But so they placed you under arrest.
Yeah. When they took
They
us to
take you
the
off to
police
jail?
station, I come to find out there's more of my friends in there.
So
There
they
was
rounded all of
actually
you up, huh?
14 of us the same day.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So they took down the whole crew.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, so you got officially charged. What was the
Yeah.
charge? Trafficking
Trafficking times 3.
times 3.
Yeah. 1 for each time I sold to that cop.
And what kind of time does that carry in Canada?
Like first offense like that for drugs anyways, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
Like some of the other guys got a month, 2 months, 3 months and up.
Yeah.
I got since I was, well, like I went in to jail until I got my bail hearing. I got out. I was on house arrest. And during my house arrest, my second daughter came along.
Oh, that she was born while you were on
That's
house
when I
arrest?
got my wake up call.
Yeah. How about that?
I'm gonna deal with my sentence and all that and get out of it. I'm gonna move
Wow.
away and get out of it.
My goodness.
So,
So
it took a year in and out of courts, but I had found a job. I was working. I was supporting the sole money, like income to support my daughter. So they let me off easy. I got 90 days weekends, but I did 2 days at a time. Usually they got Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I
Right.
did Saturday and Sunday only. So it took me 9 months.
of going in there every weekend, reminding you what you were leaving, right? And then
Yeah.
coming back to,
Yeah,
that, you know what? I wish that more things were done like that. Here in the United States, like, for instance, in the state that I live in, you would have done, at a bare minimum, you would have done 4 years in the penitentiary. They could have, since it was 3 charges, in theory, they could have uh, given each sentence as opposed to running them at the same time. You could have gotten 12. See, the
Yeah.
United States incarcerates more people for drugs. And, I hate to make a political statement, but it's a pretty good indicator of, the method that they used with you was a wake up call, as opposed to putting you into a penitentiary with a bunch of hardened criminals who are going to teach you other crimes. It gave you an opportunity to leave your baby, go and spend the weekend, to come back.
Yeah.
So how old
That
is
was
your girl
great.
now?
She's 13 now.
13. So it's 13 years ago. And no drugs and no dealing since.
Nope.
God bless you, man. That is awesome. That is awesome. What about your friends?
A lot of them are still in the life.
Still in the life?
Yeah.
Yep. Well,
Uh,
you know what? It's
a few moved away and got out of it too, but
a lot of them went right back to it.
yeah.
That's it's something that we talk about all the time here on the lifeboat. So I'm glad that this was brought up the way it is. That whether you're selling or whether you're using or whatever the case may be, when it comes time to quit anything that is bad for you, in the same way that dealing or using would be, you really need a why. And obviously, your daughter was the why. That was
Yeah.
a real catalyst. Probably one that your other friends didn't have.
No,
It had to be pretty intense to have your daughter born while you were on house arrest.
that was pretty interesting. House arrest, and not at my own place. I was house arrest at my dad's house,
Oh wow!
father's place. Yeah.
So what was it? Did the whole town find out you were
Oh
busted?
yeah. Oh yeah. It made the paper. Actually, I'll be honest about it. If you Google my name right now, you'll find the paper clippings.
Yeah.
The
That
news story is still there.
was it devastating to you and the family?
They kind of knew about it because I didn't want to keep large amounts of money at my apartment.
Right.
In case of a drug bust, they take it away and it's all evidence.
Right.
I was actually hiding it in a safe at my grandmother's house.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember, obviously bank robbery is probably something that people like talking about a little bit more. But when the news broke that that I had been busted for bank robbery, I know the shame that I felt. I was inside, but the shame that I felt. I remember my mother coming to visit me and looking at her and just thinking, there's really not a whole lot that I could have done to my mother that was worse than this, and the guilt from that. It is something I still wrestle with. No matter how much I've changed to become something else, I still put them through that. It's you gotta work to forgive yourself on a daily basis. So you started watching the lifeboat, and you started to feel some feelings for him, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something. Stepping up to the plate, it's the way to heal.
And actually, as far as my sentence goes, I'm still to this day paying for it because my daughter's mother was American and she overstayed her visa up here. She finally got deported a few years ago back to New York. And with my history, I cannot set foot in the States.
Right.
So I have to talk to my daughter on Facebook Messenger every day.
Yeah, that's hard.
My daughter's allowed here. She comes once in a while, but it's not the same.
No.
I miss so much of her daily routine and everything.
I'll tell you what, thank the world technology is the way it is, because 15, 16 years ago, there literally would have been no contact. You guys would have talked on the telephone. At least, you can still share that. I'm also not allowed in Canada, for or almost any for almost any other civilized country on the in the
Yeah,
free world. There's
yeah.
that's definitely something that follows it. Is there any way you can file any kind of paper, or is that a lifetime ban?
I can get a pardon, but I'm not sure if I'm still allowed in the States. I'd
Yeah,
have to check with the US Embassy over here.
yeah.
Yeah. The,
So your daughter
I,
obviously is aware of what happened.
she probably is. She knows I'm not allowed in the States because of stuff I did in the past. She
Right,
probably doesn't know details.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. And the older they get, there was definitely a period of time when I had to have that conversation with my daughter. Here's the crazy thing: the biggest bonding moment that I ever had with my daughter, my son the same way, was when I went to prison for a long time, so that they knew obviously that dad had robbed banks and done all of that, but when the time came for me to actually have that conversation, and I think it was so good for not just for me but for her, because when for in my case I was just this person that and my son knew me really well. I had raised my son, so when I went to prison it was different, but for my daughter, when I went to prison, she had no idea who I was. And when I got out and became a part of her life, um, I was Tommy. I wasn't dad. I was just this guy. And much like you, I was doing all of this through FaceTime and through Messenger. And I don't know that there's anybody on the planet that I'm closer to now. But it's one of the things that's like the reason that you're here. We really preach this whole you got to own your past thing, and when you really do and you own it, it's a release. You get this out. You know what I mean? There's no longer this thing that just sits back here and festers. It's your chance to say to the world, look, this is what I did. I'm sorry about it, and I'm moving on. If you don't, that's fine, but I'm moving on from here. And I think when we talked the first time on the phone and you said you were, wanting to do this, that's what I kept saying. This is going to be great for you. It's also going to tell a lot of people that, I really loved having you here, because you're not what people think when they hear drug dealer, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
You're
Right.
not Al
Uh,
Pacino or
oh, no,
Robert
I
De
did a
Niro.
complete 180 from back in my old life.
Well, and the truth of the matter is, drug dealers, just like drug addicts, come in every size, shape, every kind of lifestyle. There was a movie recently done about a guy that was running drugs who's in his 70s. It's based on a true story. This guy was just a mule for the cartels, and he was,
Yeah.
driving drugs. They use absolutely everything that they can to move the poison and to help sell the poison. It's definitely something that no matter what we do, it's going to follow us. This is going to be a part of your life forever. But I really hope that the step that you take today begins to heal, the feelings. When I was talking to you at the beginning of this interview, I asked about, the guilt of knowing that these people were literally handing over heirlooms and flushing, their livelihoods and their, lives down the toilet. So that guilt started coming in after the fact, huh?
Yep.
Something you've been wrestling with.
Yeah.
Do you run into any of the people you used to sell to?
Well, I actually live an hour and a half away from where all this took place,
Okay.
but I still go visit family once in a while. I'll run into one or two of the people I used to sell. Every visit might be a different one I see, but
Is it,
a lot of them I don't even see.
yeah. Is it difficult looking at people that you used to sell to?
Yeah, yeah, especially the ones that are still using
Oh yeah.
and they they haven't gone anywhere. Like
Yeah.
the ones that there's some that are still using but not as much, and they're functioning and they are kind of better than back then.
But they're still slaves.
It's yeah, but the hardest is seeing the ones that are still down and out in the slums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it sounds so incredible to so many people because you're looking at 13 years and you think these people are still doing the exact same thing. And it sounds crazy to me. But when I think about it, if you had been someone that was selling me heroin, you could have disappeared for 27 years and come back and I still would have been doing the same thing. It's so easy to get caught up in the life and watch that just start to spiral out of control. Did you ever see any overdoses or any violence among the people that were using?
I haven't seen any firsthand, but there's been some that I
You
heard
knew
about.
that you knew that it was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, because cocaine will kill you. I mean that
Oh, yeah.
drug will take you off the planet. It's got to be hard knowing that. Again, I'm not trying to bring up things that upset you, but since we're owning this and getting it out of the way, I mean, realistically, you probably supply drugs to people that overdosed. That's got to be a tough thing.
There is a possibility, yes.
Yeah.
I'll never know for sure.
Yeah.
Only they know.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
the healing process starts when you step up. And I mean, the thing is this, Chris, you could have hung out in the comment section, supporting people, being a crew member on this boat and never tell anybody. But the fact that you're uncomfortable doing that says a great deal about who you are. And honestly, it says a great deal about the people who are crew members on this boat, because the bonds that we're all building, the fact that you weren't comfortable without, having people know this says a lot about you. And the fact that once I announced you were coming on, I had 3 other people that said, I feel like I got to do this, says a lot about sort of the phenomenon that is, starting to take place on this, when you were in the life and selling, what kind of age groups are we talking about? I mean, I know you said that you were dealing out of a club. So, I mean, were these young kids, were these, older people, everything in between? What were we looking at?
No, we wouldn't allow anyone of our group to sell to teenagers. It was all adults, no one of school age or high school age.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That's, you at least got to respect that. And it's, I think it's probably a rarity. I know that in this country, the ID required to buy drugs is a picture of a dead president on a piece of paper. You know what I mean? If somebody's got money, they're selling to them. I remember picking up dope and seeing 16-year-olds get in and out of the car. The other thing, and I don't want to turn this into an R-rated show, but the fact that you're selling cocaine out of a strip club is kind of an odd thing. Were the girls in there all strung out on this? Was there a reason that you chose the club?
Oh, yes. Most of them were, yes.
So were you watching this destroy? I mean, I'm not trying to judge anybody for any line of work, but my experience has been that, the story of the girl that goes in and strips to put herself through college is, it may sound great for a movie, but in my experience, girls who go in and strip are doing it to pay for drug habits. Was that your experience as well?
Yeah, that whole thing for college is not real life.
No.
Oh, you might get the odd one, but it's
right.
very rare.
So most of the girls in there were strung out on dope?
Supporting their habit.
Okay. Is that why you guys chose that as a location?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got to be tough.
Even
it really does.
The bar owner was paid off to let that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was he indicted as well?
No. They had nothing on
him. So you watched these girls going down the tubes as well?
Yeah. But it's not like they were there like steady. They'd come to town for a week, 2 weeks, and then they'd go back home. Okay. Most of them came from Montreal or areas like that.
Yeah. spent a lot of time in Montreal when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
So those girls were coming from St. Catherine Street.
Yes.
I know Montreal really well. St. Catherine Street is, I mean, as far as the entire world, there's probably more strippers on St. Catherine Street than you're going to find in any city anywhere on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
every second building's a strip joint.
True story. And there was a club there called Super Sex, which I believe at the time was in the late 80s, early 90s. It 230 women, working at any given time. And I would go out on a limb and say there probably wasn't 4 of them that were not on drugs. It's another thing that you don't see or you don't hear about. There are so many industries, obviously, stripping, the sex industry, whatever you want to call it, that is probably one of the most damaging industries in terms of everybody in there being, under the influence. I think it's probably a tough thing to remove your clothes for cash. It's something that probably requires a little bit of, drugs just to make that happen. I can see where this has got to be, the memories of all of this has got to be tough on a person's soul, Chris. I really do. And what I would suggest is, in spite of the fact that we're not talking about an addiction, I think that a lot of the processes that we talk about and advise, people here, we give advice to people on how to move forward and how to forgive yourself. And I think a lot of those probably can apply to your situation as well.
I think in some ways it was a little bit of an addiction, addicted to money.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well,
I never
here's the
had
thing.
it growing up, and it fell in my lap.
Well, and easy money, I have, from a guy that robbed banks, there's something about money that you don't earn that is just really, really difficult. It's, when you talk about it as an addiction, as we've said 5,000 times and will continue to say, it doesn't matter what the first component is, whether that component is gambling or pornography or money, right? Addicted to the lifestyle. The second component is your brain still sending, the reward center of your brain is still sending feel-good chemicals to you for doing the wrong thing. Knowing
there is some kind of rush to it.
Yeah,
especially
absolutely.
In a bar packed with people. One night we had 12 Hells Angels in the bar, and everybody else left. I stayed
and sold dope.
Yeah. And when the Hells Angels were there, there was a biker enforcement unit that we have in Canada. Were there guarding the doors.
So you're in there slinging dope with cops basically inside the building. So you're pushing it and you're taking chances.
Another night, the RCMP, they were doing shows with their horses and putting on displays, and they stopped in town. They were all in our bar.
So you were there basically 7 nights a week.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So for a 3-year period of time, you spent, basically 365 days a year in that environment selling drugs. I would imagine that working through all of this, and starting to go through the healing process, I think one of the reasons that I felt the need to start this channel is because for me and the things that I had done in my past, I couldn't be comfortable getting clean and then just going, wow, I'm glad that's over. And I wanted to do something to try to make up, for some of the things that I had done, and to try to maybe prevent somebody from
to other people like in your lifestyle.
Correct. And the craziest thing happened. That little reward center of my brain started to work again. And now when someone like Joe says, I'm on day 10, that little rush that I used to get from breaking the law or from doing dope or from all of the things that I did wrong starts to kick in. Or somebody leaves a comment that says, this show has affected my life in a positive way. If anybody is listening, you can absolutely get the same rush from doing the right thing as you can from doing the wrong thing. Yes. And that really is, I think, the takeaway from all of this is that um, we have a unique crowd of people here that come to support one another, and you may not be realizing, why there's such a draw. And I tell people, this isn't, you're not coming because of me. You're coming because supporting one another and doing the things that we're doing right now on this boat is getting the same reaction in that part of the brain that you were getting. It really is trading one thing for another, except we're trading one of the most vile things. I'm not passing judgment on you, my man. But three years in a strip club selling dope to girls who are dancing and people who are trading heirlooms for drugs. That's a tough way to get a reward chemical in your brain. And the fact that you know that now says a lot about the fact that you've put this behind you. This is a rear view mirror thing.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you come to this boat to support people. I think that that's awesome. I really do.
Like I told you in a comment there, I might not say much, but I'm always around.
Yeah. Well, and that's been my experience with you over the course of the last year too. The thing is, every time you said something, the timing was perfect, and it was always something that I got at a time I really needed to hear it. And that's another thing that you'll hear from people on the boat. There are so many times that people say, boy, so and so said this at the right time. If I had $1 for every email I got that said that Chi left a comment at the right time that just lifted somebody, you can get addicted to that. You can get addicted to being that person that does everything you can to help, as opposed to everything you can to break down. And one of the biggest things that I think anybody can do is the step that you just took, because you're not the last drug dealer that is going to come on this show and talk about the things that they did. There's no chance of that. Someone had to break the ice. Someone had to step up and say, I'm going to admit to things that I did that are, that were not such a great thing. Did you ever come across anybody trying to rob you or do any of those things?
No.
No? Tell
Come
you what,
across guys trying to screw us over. Sorry for my choice of words
right?
there, but no.
Were you ever fronting drugs to people, or was it always cash and carry?
No. I know you can go down a rabbit hole when you start doing that.
I'll tell you what, you Canadians, I'll tell you right now, are far more civilized people than the United States. I'm not kidding you. I bet you I've robbed 70 drug dealers. Maybe more than that. When Jack comes on, he will probably tell those stories because he was there for most of them. But maybe an heroin's different too. But if I said to a guy, hey, I need a couple of bags until I get paid or until I get money, and the guy said no, I robbed him. Like, that was pretty much how it went, because I just, with my drug of choice, I was going to get sick if this guy didn't give it to me, and yeah, in the United States, the one thing I'll tell you is drug dealers get robbed. I mean, it is, I guess sitting in a strip club was probably a safer method than going out and doing it anywhere else. But yeah, there was.
I come from such a small town of 6,000-7,000 people, so it's totally different.
Yeah, no one's going to disappear either, right?
Yeah.
In a town of 7,000, where are you going to hide?
Yeah.
You'd have to. So were you when you guys brought this stuff in? Were you cutting it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Stretching it out by stepping on the stuff.
Yeah.
See, there's another thing that there's an urban legend in our society that surrounds, and the people on the boat will laugh at this because they were in the life. But if you talk to people in the real world, what they love telling their kids is, if you go and do drugs, you're going to get stuff that's cut with, and usually something more expensive than the drug itself, but that they were going to somehow cut this with something that was going to be. My experience is that, baby laxative, for heroin, it was always baby laxative that they cut the stuff with. It was rare, at least in the places I live, that they cut it with anything bad. But, coke is definitely one of those drugs that gets stepped on so that you can make more money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Every pair of hands it goes through cuts it.
Gets a little bit weaker and a little bit weaker.
Yeah.
So throughout this whole process, you never used?
Not cocaine, no,
No?
no. I've done a little bit of speed on and off, ecstasy,
Yeah.
yeah. But for me, I didn't find it was an addiction. I would just 1 week or whatever, someone was having a party, okay, let's go and do a few hits, and that was
Right.
that.
Yeah,
Whereas
well, you know,
months
the vast majority, believe it or not, the
Yeah.
vast majority of people who experiment with drugs do not get addicted to drugs. The percentage of people who get addicted is really relatively small, but it doesn't seem that way because one person who's addicted will affect the lives of so many people that everybody knows an addict, and everyone's got a story of an addict that they know, and because of that, it really makes it seem like everybody on the planet's addicted. But
Yeah.
when you look at the statistics, the number of people who, you know, they're in our country, you know, better than 70% of people will say that they you know, experimented with drugs, but nowhere near 70%, you know, of these people get addicted. There really is something that happens in the brain of the addict that is just plain different, and that for you, that doesn't throw that switch, but apparently money and the lifestyle did.
But even back when I was in high school, I dabbled with weed, and it wasn't an issue.
Right.
If I didn't have it, it wasn't a big deal. The only thing is you, Tommy.
Yeah.
The vape. That nicotine is a hard one.
Yeah, well, there's no question. I relapsed on it. It's you know, it's a terrible thing. So the money that you were stashing in this safe, did they end up getting any of that, or
Nope,
no?
nope. I spent it even before. It wasn't large amounts. Maybe 6-7 grand was in there, the max.
Probably went towards your legal fees.
Yeah, yeah, legal fees and
Yeah,
the,
that happens. You know, most of the time, it really does. And you know, there's an old saying: there are no retirement homes for drug dealers, and you know that you don't see that you know, all of the old retired. The truth of the matter is there is a retirement home for drug dealers, but it's called prison. That's where most of them you know, end up. But in your country, obviously the system is a little different. Truthfully, in the United States, my brother, you would have been so much time for what they caught you doing. I mean, you would have been doing so much time.
yeah.
You know, the state I live in, I promise you, you would at minimum you're going to do 4, but more realistically, it would have been somewhere between 4 and 12. So you dodged a bullet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You dodged a real bullet, and fortunately, it sounds like your daughter came along at the perfect time.
Yep.
You know, I hurt for you that you can't be you know, you can't see her on a more regular basis, but I guess that you know, one of the things about, you know, the getting convicted, doing things, that there are certain things that follow you for the rest of your life. So 13 years ago was the conviction, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And hey, nothing since, right? So and now you're working and being
Oh,
a
yeah.
productive
I'm
member of
working.
society.
I got a great job. I'm into mining and driving those huge trucks.
Yes, I remember
Yeah,
actually
I
seeing
sent you
some of those
pictures.
pictures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
For those of you who don't know, I mean, we're talking about trucks the size that you could put normal trucks in the back of. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah,
Like in the
probably
dump
the
side,
size of my house.
several. Yeah, these things are really, really large. They're the kind of things that
And-
little boys freak out when they see.
And like
Really,
I just referred to my house. Yeah, that's one thing I wouldn't have had if I kept dealing.
yeah.
I managed to buy my own house. I got the vehicles I need
In your name.
in my name. Yes, not in a friend's name or anything. Yeah.
And without having to do all of those things that that so often happen with drug dealers. Chris, I want to thank you so much for coming on here. I know it's uncomfortable. I know it is, but the fact that you know, that you felt the need to let the people on the boat know exactly what your past is, I think is, you know, you're a stand-up cat. That's for real. It's not an easy thing. Just being in front of a camera is not an easy thing, but to come in here and talk about, what you did. And I think the one thing that you got going for you is that this is not a crowd that's going to be, that's going to look down their nose at you. All of us have got a past that, that we've done things that we're not proud of. I think it's important that, you work on forgiving yourself. It's, I joke about my past when I talk about it. And I'll laugh about things, and it's a defense mechanism that I think everybody has. But when the lights are off and there's nobody around, I'm not.
The whole interview there, I was laughing and giggling. That's just me being nervous.
That well, and something. It's the way most people deal when there are things from your past that are painful. After having been in prison for the number of years that I have. When someone would get stabbed, I mean, we saw murders. This was something that happened regularly, and the amount of laughter that happened afterwards, and the amount of gallows humor that happened afterwards. Nobody thinks these things are funny, but it's that, or you break down and you cry, and when you have to think back. I asked some questions that are uncomfortable. The fact that these girls were getting supplied by you and literally tossing their life away is not something that can be easy to look back on. So no one's judging you for that, but it's a courageous thing to come on here and to tell your story, and it's going to get more people to do the same. And I think that that's awesome. And yeah, really, tune in and start looking at the stuff that we talk about when it's, in terms of forgiving yourself, because for everybody involved, whether it's drugs, no matter what it is in your past, if you carry that guilt around as baggage, then you're never living the best life. You're never going to get, the happiness that you're supposed to have, because that kind of baggage drags a person down. It really does. So thanks again, Chris. I really appreciate you coming on here.
And before we go, I got to do this to every drug addict out there. I'm sorry for my part in enabling you. I had to do this. That's what I told you when I first contacted you.
Yeah,
I have to do it.
Well, it's a big step, my man. It really is. And there's the nice thing is that there are a lot of people out here that spent literally, between all of us right now that are watching on the boat, we're talking about millions and millions of dollars that have been spent on drugs. And whether you were the drug dealer or whether you just represent the drug dealer, I think it's awesome to hear somebody say that. It's not something that you're going to hear ever uttered any place other than the boat. And I think that that's awesome. I think that's really beautiful stuff, Chris. I appreciate you coming on here and doing this. And I look forward to seeing you each and every time we have a live feed in the comment.
Like I said the other night when we were talking there, that I was off work for a while. It's official. I got the paperwork all done up today. I'm going back on the 27th. So I will be around a little less, but I'll catch up on the videos when I can.
That's the spirit. God bless you, Chris. I really appreciate you coming by. For everybody else, a couple of things real quick. I will be going up at 9. I don't know how long I'm going to be on. It probably will not be a long one. I do have the next 3 days off, so there's going to be some things done. And people, how about this? The t-shirts are good. I've got the link. By the way, the link, you're going to love this, but I will announce it officially. But when they said, what do you want the link to say? Saigon Cinnamon. So you will be sent to a site and you will enter the link Saigon Cinnamon. The shirts are available. You can get them this evening. I will give you that info on the 9 o'clock call. Thank you so much for tuning in, people. Thank you, Chris. You're a gentleman. And I know that this took some guts. I really appreciate it. I am Captain Tommy Scoville. This is the lifeboat. Between now and the next time we get on, you know what I want you to do, people? Get out there and try to save somebody. God bless.